So damn it all to hell, I just heard the most telling thing from somebody that said that they loved Dune 2 as to why I might not have enjoyed it. One of my least favorite Star Wars episodics sequels was Episode 2, especially Clone Wars. That fucking movie, sorry, this is how I feel about media, so whatever. That movie is about a whiny ass teenager falling in love with a girl that's like, ooh, I mean, they were like 10 to, so I forget how much older. Anyways, it is literally just about them frolicking around on a planet and being in love. And then him whining whenever his mother dies, which, you know, you get it, but because the character at large was unlikable, you know, I genuinely didn't care for Anakin Skywalker. Why would I give a shit if his mother died, kind of thing? And I know that's messed up, right? Maybe that's my lack of empathy. Maybe it's the director's job to create that. Maybe it's the writer's job to create that. Maybe it's the actor's job to create that. George Lucas was directing, oh, what's his nuts? Hayden Christensen. And Hayden Christensen definitely has some chops, and he's got charisma too, man. He's got charisma to spare. But he was unlikable as Anakin Skywalker, and I don't know who wrote the script dialogue-wise. If it was George Lucas on all fronts, wrote the script and directed it, and that was the time when they had the yes men syndrome where nobody would say no to his ass, it's like, yeah, no wonder that movie sucked. Now here we go, Dune Part 2. What the hell kind of story comparison is that? You got this whiny ass little skinny bitch who's getting the superpowers of influence. That's fucking funny all by itself. It's 2023 and an influencer is taking over the world. Holy shit. Anyways, a whiny ass kid who wants to take out a duke because he's bad, and then his love romp across the world and his ability to ride a worm. And I'm sorry, Timothée Chalamet's deliveries, I just don't feel it. Maybe sometimes when he's yelling and using his power of persuasion, but when he's just being him, talking to Zendaya, talking to whoever, it's just not believable. He comes across like Hayden Christensen in Clone Wars 2 to me. In the first movie, I felt it. Something was different about that first movie, and I might need to go back and rewatch it with my quote-unquote newfound perspective, because I remember loving Dune 1. And hearing character comparisons. Okay, General Grievous, he was interesting. I didn't know why. He just looked cool, his character design. He ordered everybody else around. So, I guess pretty one note. He coughed up some shit, but he had some lightsabers. So he had some depth of like, what's this guy about? Visually, at least. Drax the Destroyer, I mean, Dave Bautista, I couldn't come up with his actual name for a second. It was a joke at first, and then it got real. But, same fucking thing. Same thing. He was a one-note villain running around screaming and throwing tantrums, and people are claiming that he was utilized well? Good job! You made a WWE superstar do WWE stuff. What's wrong with you? Is this really all Dave Bautista has to offer us is physical comedy? But in the context of this, so it's like dramatic, physical drama. That's what this is. Dave Bautista has created a new subgenre. We had physical comedy from the Chaplin era, and now because of the kind of people that we really are, which is Arrakis, from what I could tell, because this I guess will be my spoiler review, and I'm just gonna post it and call it a fucking day. By the way, at the beginning of this, maybe I'll chop in something that says Dune Part 2 spoiler review. But here's the deal. Arrakis is us. That's just the way it is. Fucking Arrakis is us. We are Arrakis. And were we a desert? I don't know. I can't speak to that angle of the whole thing. But conceptually, it's not like Dune is some far off place, okay? It's an allegorical story about us. Is it North America specifically? I mean, I was kind of digging on that vibe. It felt like kind of a North America when it was North Arrakis, and I was like... And there's a lot of oil and spice involved. The oils that were visual. Again, first tune, we got our big bad Skarsgård, and this is where I gotta watch it again. But I only remember him coming out of an oil bath once. In this one, if his character was literally called disgusting, overweight alien dip in oil repeatedly, it's like, alright, say something. Now go under. Okay, great. Cut! You didn't do it right. We're gonna have to do it again. Say something, go under. Alright, good. Okay. That's a little bit better, but your timing was off, so you have to do it again. And that was just for one of them. He dipped his freaking head in that nasty brown oil crap that made it seem almost like, again, Arrakis has this, or at least the Duke does, has this technology and human infusion, which is akin to where we are headed in this country, like Terminator and all that lovely. But it's an oil visual bath. He looks like he's dipping himself in oil. Oil keeps him alive. And we have this desire as a country to get our hands on that stuff. It's crazy. Now, there's our three villains, and we're gonna talk about how Dune 2 is one of the best movies of all time. Oh, I didn't talk about Lips Magoo. Gosh, Austin Butler. I still haven't watched Doing Elvis. I've heard so many people, he was robbed of the Oscar. He was Elvis, and I'm just like, ew. That kind of a thought process is why I don't think the kid deserved it. I don't even know. I still haven't seen it. I'm sure he was great. But I'm so distracted by his look that I can't take him seriously. So I'm going to have a hard time seeing him in this Elvis movie. But when he looks like Elvis, which he does, maybe. Now this bald-headed, pussy-ass, whiny motherfucker that they portrayed as a villain because he licks knives. Seen it, done it. Find a new way to make him menacing, because it damn sure isn't his presence. And it isn't his knife licking either. If I was in his presence, sure. But as a character in his presence, you can... nobody seemed like they were really afraid of him except for them bitches at the beginning. Like, the most interesting thing about him was what's up with his harem. But other than that, he feeds people to girls. I don't need to know more about that shit. What kind of character depth is that? And other than that, he's a knife flicker. Got it. Who likes to fight? Whoop-de-doo. Is he good at it? I can't tell. He got the cheat. And some old guy almost beat him. So I would contend he's not a very good fighter. He almost lost the first one. and Timothy Chalamet. Oh gosh, here's again. This whole thing is a spoiler, but whatever. When they finally killed the bad guy, which you know is fucking coming. It's a million miles away. There's no point in this movie where I felt that Timothy Chalamet was going to die. They didn't even show how it occurred. They just showed a close-up and a you have to put it together kind of situation, which the imagination does toil. So good job on creating that. Like, that's a good director idea in relation to allowing the independent viewer to guess how the exchange really occurred, because it's bullshit. I know that he had the other knife. It's not like that part was, but like some weird shit. He just whipped it out when the other guy was just not paying attention because he just did a bad guy, like, time to talk. Like, so Dune has more of this theatric. It's more Shakespeare and less sci-fi in that. It's like a less believable version of the world that was created. In the previous one, like Jason Momoa's character added some kind of an energy to the movie. I didn't know anything about any of the characters in the first one, which makes sense because it's the first of 3. But I didn't get anything new out of them, really, out of the second one. All I got was, alright, we have an emperor that's unbelievably bad, Christopher Walken. Oh yeah, we got 4 bad guys in this, and all of them were just unbelievably bad. Christopher Walken was just Christopher Walken with a little bit slower of a pace. Instead of being like, do you see over there's a tree. It's got apples in it. You know how things go. But it was slower, so it was like, you see over there, this apple tree, you know, it's got fruit. He's got kind of a Shatner cadence if I'm doing it wrong. Anyways, so he was a feeble old guy, believably overthrowable. You don't get anything, you don't learn shit about him. He seemed like a bigger person to learn something about, like, why is he even worth messing with? Oh, he's the one that perpetrated this assassination. Like, that's some very skin deep bullshit. Why would I give a crap? Why would I care? Turned your back on somebody else. Seen it, done it. How about you give me a little more depth? Like, what was his backstory like a little bit more? Or who is he really like a little bit more? Make him worth being interested in. You pooped out on the entire Arrakis species because they were all dying anyways, which is further proof why even go into depth. Why go into depth on these people that are gonna die anyways? Making them even less interesting. It's like, listen, all these people gonna die because who gives a shit? They're not very interesting anyways. I wish I could find my cough drops because my throat is sore. The romance between Chalamet and Zendaya was pretty weak. I've seen it done better in other movies. Called Zendaya Makes Out with This Other Guy Part whatever it was. Her on-screen romantic life as just an actress is mind-boggling. What a fascinating thing to constantly see her do risque things of sexual behaviors all the time. And the dudes, they're just as guilty. I know. But how about we just start avoiding those? Like, why do we have to? It wasn't done well, so why bother? It's kind of, Zac Efron's chemistry with her was better. Their story together was better. Most stories as such are pretty much the same. I bet you I could probably pull Dune 2 together against The Greatest Showman, and it would make sense somehow. It would take more thought than what I'm willing to muster at the moment. So, the Empress, portrayed by Florence Pugh. Her ability to be cool, calm, collected was very well done. Her ability to have subtle surprise, again, very well done. I would say acting-wise, she put forth the best effort, and everybody around here was still kind of, again, more, I don't know, not quite the mark. None of the other villains. She was the best villain. And there was no surprise. Again, it's like, oh, of course he's gonna have to dump her to go with the Empress. That's a freak. As soon as it was even a thought, they put the verbal foreshadowing in the movie of like, oh, this Empress has to get married or whatever. It's like, well, guess who she's gonna fucking get married to? Timothy Chalamet. And this whole thing is a big misdirect about how he's in love with somebody else, but once, gonna have to marry for this reason or whatever. And it's just like, no shit. Ain't no surprise here. Oh no, shed a tear for this shit relationship. Didn't give a fuck if they succeeded or not anyways. It's not supposed to. So, it was, to me, that's where, like, the biggest, weakest shit is. It's like Clone Wars 2. How long do we really have to spend focused on this romance that's not even really that important to any of my experience in the viewing habits of this epic, if you would, because these are epics. They're epics. When Dr. Zhivago fell in love, I didn't care. Don't work for me. When Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey fell in love, that stuff was great. That stuff was real in the premise of their chemistry. Timothy Chalamet is wooden in this movie in certain parts. And I would contend that's exactly what all the bad guys are in this movie, is that they're all wooden. We have 5 bad guys. Surprise, Timothy Chalamet's one of them. Because he doesn't have anybody's intentions in mind but his own. So guess what? He's a bad guy. And he's fulfilling a prophecy. It's all dumb. And then we have another great actress, whose name I cannot. Olivia, what's her name? She's got 3 names, whatever her name is, from Split and from The Witch. She has 2 seconds, and it's just staring at the camera. I was like, good grief. Any idiot from a perfume ad can accomplish this kind of bullshit right here. That was an odd feeling. Like, I don't need perfume ads in the middle of my Dune movie. It doesn't feel like some kind of prophetic whatever. Anyway, and the whole thing is like Superman, Red Sun kind of thing, right? Like, what happens if Jesus were to be like a bad guy or a plant? Oof. That's kind of a cool idea, I think. Like, what if these messiahs were just plants? That's the part that's super cool. Does that really come through in this movie? Yes, but it doesn't feel as surprising anymore since it's all part of the storyline. You have that through the Bene Gesserit of the first renditions, Very well done in the first movie because it was all new. But in this second movie, I think it needs to be watched with the first movie because it does not hold up by itself. I can watch Empire Strikes Back by itself. I can probably watch Godfather 2 by itself. I can damn sure watch any of the Avengers movies up to Endgame pretty much by themselves, truly. This movie requires the first one. Oh, Two Towers. This movie requires the first one and your love of it to stand into a full trilogy. I believe that is the mark of a weaker film than especially people want to admit. I think movies that can stand on their own as design would, let it show, sequel or not, unless the story can stand on its own, it's not worth sequelizing. Yes, it's the same characters, right? But it's an adventure that could stand alone. This movie made me actually dislike the characters more, which is fine because they're all bad guys anyways, so I guess I'm supposed to. But I didn't like the good guys either. Zendaya, didn't like her. Josh Brolin, knew, whoop-de-doo, he's alive. Didn't like him. Yeah, okay, here's a favorite. Javier Bardem. He's probably one of my favorites in the entire movie. And did he do anything that's really outside of the box? Fuck no. He was just an exaggerated version of himself. How easy. And he's a great actor. He has the ability. But, this was not it for me. He's just a goofball. It's supposed to be the comedic relief, I guess. And it kind of worked. Oh, I forgot. How could I? Shame on me. There was one other standout role in this entire movie. Rebecca Ferguson also carried the absolute hell out of this movie. Her emotional depth was better than anything that I saw out of, say, Black Panther 2. Which, by the way, had the ability to stand on its own because it was its own story. It didn't need the other one. Oh, that's not true. It did. Silly me. You had to really give a shit about Black Panther to care that he died. So, okay, I believe it's got some inklings of a story of grief, That's the part that I would say can stand on its own. It's a story about grief at large is a standalone story. And that's probably what the original screenplay was. And then they adapted the screenplay about grief into Black Panther 2. And then it's like, well, you had to like the first one. So it does have that. This is kind of, again, it's a story about a rise to power through nefarious means, as prophesied, in a bad way, where a place that has family, it's Shakespeare-y, it's modern context-y. It's a lot of things. But I don't see the second one being as great as everybody else says. I feel kind of silly. I guess I'll stop talking. It's been 25 minutes. We're going to call that the wrap-up of Dune 2 review. Spoiler review. I said 6.5 out of 10, and I'll stand by that. The first one memory serves, was like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. But again, I'd have to rewatch with my current perspective from my post, review, and then I would have to watch the second one in succession. But we talk about all these things and everything. Like, who's got that kind of time? I love movies. I'd give what I got when I can, but I don't have much, so who can? People that get paid professionally to do that kind of shit. That's who has the time to fucking watch all these things. Now, when you live in that kind of a sphere and a bubble, I hope that you understand that that's just in that little subsphere of life, because it has literally nothing to do with the real world, except that the dollars that go to pay the movies in theater is one of the cogs of the American machine, whose number one product is media propaganda all around the world. And it was also, it's an internalized propaganda. So I'll stop talking there because I wouldn't want to get too much trouble. This is a movie review after all. Spoilers. Dune 2. Like, subscribe, comment in the comments down below. Go see the movie. I mean, it's worth the in-theater experience. I forgot. P.S. I went in D-Box. That's one of my early on D-Box experiences. I think I've gone to one or two other ones. And I have to say, I understand that there are security problems in relation to, but I had it at full blast. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 levels. And it needed more. It was so subtle, I thought that the price wasn't worth it. Because in IMAX theater, with good sound as it is, has the ability to do a chunk of what that chair did. So unless the chair's really giving you something, like, not to be too, because it's experientially overwhelming on purpose, but the Avatar ride does what you're looking for. Or it was the California ride, and it made you feel, and it sprayed you and all that stuff. Like, these are the things. The 4D experience. Give me what the scent of the desert is as well. No joke. Give me movement that makes me understand that this ship is sailing. Otherwise, I'm going to rely on my eyes and my imagination, and hopefully the rich sound of the theater, because it does that. But anyways, like, subscribe, all those things, if I ever post, which I do every blue moon, typically about movies, not necessarily about politics. That's what I like to talk about, really, and how we're this is just another one of the theaters, like the gladiatorial, oh yeah, everybody that watches sports is just being distracted by the Roman Emperor. I'm like, so are the people that are watching television and movies. Okay, all this media is theater, the news is theater, and the politics are theater too. I hate to break it to you, because our biggest thing is we're great theatrics. Comment, share, have a great day. Zellsworth, Zachariah L. Kaufman there, that's me, out.